When Nathaniel woke up, his first feeling was pain. A sharp headache throbbed through his skull, and his limbs felt unnaturally heavy. The room seemed to spin around him, the faint glow of the bedside lamp casting eerie shadows on the walls. His mouth had a metallic taste, like blood mixed with stale alcohol, but he couldn't remember drinking. Slowly, fragmented memories began to return, though they were hazy. He recalled a tense dinner with his wife, Elise. She had given him a mysterious smile and poured wine with unusual excitement. He tried to sit up, but his body protested. Then he heard it, the soft murmur of voices and the rustling of sheets from the next room. His heart tightened as he swung his legs off the bed, the cold hardwood floor against his bare feet. Quietly, he walked down the hall, the sounds growing louder with each step. Pushing the door open, he froze. There, tangled together in a disgusting display of betrayal, was Elise, peacefully asleep in the arms of two men. Nathaniel's vision blurred with a mix of rage and disbelief. He had been drugged, left powerless while his wife indulged in her deceit. For a brief moment, he thought about ending it all, the anger, humiliation, and searing pain of betrayal rising within him. But Nathaniel wasn't impulsive. He had spent years as a military strategist, learning the importance of patience and precision. Rather than reacting in fury, he turned and walked away. His mind was already forming a plan. He wouldn't confront Elise yet, not until he was prepared to make her feel every ounce of the pain she had caused him. Nathaniel sat at the edge of his bed, staring at his phone. There was one person he could call, someone who had sworn to repay a life debt, no matter the cost. He scrolled through his contacts and found the name Eric. Eric Olson. They had fought side by side in a brutal campaign years ago. Nathaniel had saved Eric's life during a firefight, and Eric had never forgotten. Now a private investigator, Eric was the one Nathaniel needed. He dialed a number. Eric's voice came through, rough but warm. Been a while. What's going on? I need your help, Nathaniel said, his voice steady, despite the storm raging inside him. It's about Elise. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Eric had met Elise before. Once, years ago, Eric had taken an immediate dislike to Elise. What did she do? Eric asked. Nathaniel explained everything, leaving no detail out. By the end, Eric's tone was serious. I'm in. What's the plan? First, I need to know everything about these men, who they are, what they do, their weaknesses. Then, we'll make Elise understand what betrayal feels like. Consider it done, Eric said. But, Nathaniel, this is going to get messy. Be ready for that. Nathaniel hung up the phone, his resolve hardening. He wasn't just ready. He was eager. Eric worked quickly. Within days, he had uncovered everything there was to know about Elise's lovers. The first, Richard Vaughn, was a slick corporate lawyer with a history of shady deals and a taste for gambling. The second, Daniel Kessler, was a fitness influencer whose polished social media persona hid a mountain of debt and a string of failed relationships. They're both vulnerable, Eric explained over a late-night call. Vaughn's firm is already under investigation for fraud. A little push and he'll crumble. Kessler's reputation is his lifeline. Expose the cracks, and he'll lose everything. Nathaniel listened carefully, his mind racing with possibilities. And Elise, he asked. I've found some interesting things, Eric said. Bank accounts she's been hiding, questionable purchases, and a prenup she conveniently forgot to mention. Nathaniel's lips curled into a grim smile. Good. Let's start with Vaughn. Richard Vaughn prided himself on being untouchable, boasting a network of powerful contacts and a talent for manipulating legal loopholes. He believed himself immune to scrutiny, but that illusion began to fall apart with a single anonymous tip to the authorities. Eric's fabricated evidence, combined with Vaughn's existing wrongdoings, was enough to spark a full investigation. Nathaniel watched as Vaughn's empire crumbled. His assets were frozen, his reputation destroyed, and his once loyal clients abandoned him. Within weeks, Vaughn went from a high-powered attorney to a social outcast. At the same time, Nathaniel made sure Vaughn's personal life didn't go unscathed. Using Eric's intel, he anonymously contacted Vaughn's wife, providing her with evidence of his many affairs. The divorce that followed was swift and vicious, leaving Vaughn isolated and financially shattered. Daniel Kessler's fall was even more public. Nathaniel posed as an anonymous whistleblower, feeding the press stories about Kessler's hidden debts and shady business practices. Fake endorsements and unpaid debts. Eric hacked into Kessler's social media accounts, leaking private messages that exposed his manipulative and shallow nature. Kessler's followers deserted him, and sponsors quickly cut ties. But Nathaniel didn't stop there. He arranged for Kessler to be publicly confronted by a group of former collaborators he had wronged. The confrontation was recorded and widely shared online, further damaging Kessler's carefully curated image. By the time Nathaniel finished, Kessler was left with no career, no reputation, and no way to rebuild. As Vaughn and Kessler fell, Elise began to sense that something was wrong. Her lovers grew distant, consumed by their own crises. Nathaniel remained cold but civil, giving her no clue that he was behind it all. Elise confided in her friends, who suggested she might just be paranoid. Then came the final blow. Nathaniel confronted Elise with the evidence Eric had gathered: hidden bank accounts, fraudulent transactions, and the prenup she had tried to hide. Her shock turned to desperation as she realized just how vulnerable she was. "Please," she begged, "we can fix this." Nathaniel stared at her, his expression unreadable. "Fix this?" he repeated. "You drugged me, humiliated me, betrayed me. There's nothing left to fix." The next day, Nathaniel filed for divorce, invoking the infidelity clause in their prenup. Elise would leave the marriage with nothing but her debts. Word of her affair spread quickly, thanks to Eric's carefully planted stories. Friends and colleagues distanced themselves, and invitations to the exclusive circles she once enjoyed dried up. In the aftermath, Nathaniel took a sabbatical from work, focusing on his recovery. He reconnected with old friends, took up woodworking, and even started mentoring veterans transitioning to civilian life. Eric remained a steady presence, reminding Nathaniel that rebuilding himself was a form of revenge in itself. Nathaniel's personal growth became clear. He found joy in simple pleasures: walks in the countryside, laughter with friends, and the satisfaction of creating something with his hands. Through it all, the bitterness that had once consumed him began to fade. Months later, Nathaniel stood on the deck of his countryside home, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The pain of betrayal had dulled, replaced by a quiet sense of closure. Eric's words echoed in his mind. Messy, but worth it. Nathaniel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift. Betrayal had broken him, but it had also rebuilt him, stronger, wiser, free. Betrayal is a wound, but revenge is a salve. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is reclaiming your life.